welcome back. My name is Teresa. This is the Garden Goose Stitcher Flosstube, number 33, I think. It's January 7th. I think it's been about a month since I checked in. I had the plague at Christmas. I think I was supposed to check in right after Christmas, but I was still coughing and I didn't think you'd enjoy that part of the program. So I put it off, and then we've been super busy with hockey. And today there's no hockey. Actually, there is hockey, but Nate's missing it. There was an alumni game today, and the boys weren't actually skating in it. They weren't playing in the game. They're just supposed to be there to, mingle with the alumni and everything. But I got Dave Lions tickets for Christmas, and so the boys went down to Ford Field a little bit ago. I'm home alone. It's snowing. Everybody's calm, maybe. And so I thought I'd hurry up. I want to show you all this stuff so I can put it away, have my sewing room back, because I've been in the middle of making a quilt, and it's been clutter. So I'm here to show you what I've been doing. I've been doing a lot, I feel like. So I hope you had a wonderful Christmas. Got lots of stitching in. Spoiler alert, I went to the 12x12, and I stitched 12 new projects. They're basically just the other half of my 24 and 24. So I'd shown you before Christmas. It was an in-between Flosstube special. My planned projects for 2024, I had 12 of them fully kitted up, and they are ready to go. And I waffled back and forth whether I should do a second set of 12. That bring me up to 24 and 24, and I did it. I did it in the 12x12. They're smalls. They're magazine starts, and so I have those to show you. So, the other day I went to take down my Christmas crap and put out my my winter decorations, and I found that I had not finished a whole bunch of them. So I got the glue gun out, got out my boards, and I got finishing. And so I have a whole bunch of those to show you. Some new starts, some finishes, and all of that. So we're going to start over here because you can see them. So I might as well show them. This is all jarred up. I think this is a hands-on design when she was working with Priscilla. All jarred up. I think I have one or two of these started. I might have the Christmas one or the pumpkin one started. It's not on my whips. Maybe I have it kitted up. I don't remember now. This frame I use for actually the Housewives series. That's the Sip of the Seasons, like the cup and the thing. And so I don't have all of them done for that series. So I thought, well, I'll put in my jarred up one and he can hold the place. But I finished this the other day. Love it so much. It's some vintage fabric from my friend Betty. So I got that done. Ugh. This frame is real nice, but sometimes it challenges me. This is my Prairie Schooler from January. And I had this done in my bag of stuff that needed to be finished. Why didn't I finish it last year? Anyway, this is Prairie Schooler's January. Love it so much. Can we get an applause for Chantel's Bow Maker? Because girls like me can make pretty bows now. It's so good. This is just some dot fabric. I'm sure it came from Hobby Lobby. This sits down. This hangs on the wall. We have a corner pellet stove down in our living room. It's very cozy. It's got like a brick thing and a half wall. And so this and a couple other cross stitch pieces and family pictures hang there. So I'm glad I have that done. And then I think last time I checked in, my ABC project was the small from the January Prairie Schooler. I was taking this around with me in the car. This was actually my second whip assigned to January because I'm not doing whip go. But I have gone through my whips, and out of the 28 whips I carried over, which technically would have been 27, but I have a new whip that I added. Anyway, I'll talk about that later. But so this was on my January whip list, but I actually stitched it and finished it in December. And so then when I was finishing everything, and I thought, oh, I should finish it right up. And this is interesting because when the Housewives came out with their crate series, I intended to stitch them all. I think I only bought one. They must have come out one at a time. But I bought this piece. And you know what's been sitting down in my hanging on the wall, collecting dust and box elder bugs in the cup. And so I wanted to, and I knew when I started stitching these, I have one other, I think, that I'd like to put it on this piece instead. Because I don't think I'll get to the crates. Because I don't need another series. But I do want to stitch the smaller Prairie Schooler, and I think it looks really nice. I cleaned out the dead bugs that were in that cup. Made it all nice and clean. And I put some little cotton balls from Hoblob and some little fake lamb's ear. So now it literally has been sitting there on the wall blank for like 2 full years. And now it'll have a thing on it. So that's exciting. Also, since it's been in the... I finished it the other day and it's been in here. I think I've dropped it like 4 times. And I thought, if I hoarded this piece before I'd stitch a single thing for it and then moved it to Michigan and then hang it on the wall for blank for 2 years, no one's asked, like, this is odd. And then I broke it when it finally got used. Wouldn't that be a kicker? So, but hopefully it'll make it to the wall. I also, when I had everything out, I pulled out my snowy string. I thought I had done this, but I did not, apparently. And I finished my Lizzie Kate snowy string. Love that. Look at that bow. Chantel 141. She's got the bow maker. And while I had everything out, I ended up finishing my Garden Friends. This is Annie B's. Is it true? No. I'll look it up and I'll put it right here. This was from Kathy's birthday sale. She said just pick any. Who is the designer? I'll put it down below. She said pick any pattern by the designer. And I picked this Garden Friends. And I stitched it right up in a couple of days. And it's lovely. And then I picked this finishing piece I bought at Menards on clearance. And so it had like a peach on it or something. Like life is peachy or some corny joke like that. But I finished Garden Friends on it and I like it a lot. So that is done. And then randomly I saw this was in my bag and I thought, let me get this done. So this is summer. It's either by Country Cottage Needleworks or Little House Needleworks. I use them interchangeably and I don't think I'm the only one because it's a mother-daughter, yeah? And so I get confused. So this is summer. I think I started this in Mania of 2020 and I had misplaced my start. Like I misplaced my, oh, there's a big thing on there. I'd misplaced, I miscalculated. And so there was a bunch of words below it. And because of my miscalculation, they weren't going to fit. So I thought, well, let me just stitch the top part. And I love this very much. I think this might be from Stitch, etc. Like a board I got at the retreat. I'm not sure. Is this a Chantel piece or a Stitch, etc.? I don't know. But it's done now. And I should stitch the others probably. So those are what I got finished. Is that true? I think so. I think that's it. I pulled out one other. I have Sweater Weather. It's like a cup. And I think I'm going to make it into a pillow. I wouldn't hold your breath. I got a quilt I want to make. So I'm going to ride that inspiration train for a while. I do have another 2 finishes. On Christmas Day. No, Christmas Eve I was sick. I was starting to come down with the like a lot of coughing. I didn't feel that bad. Sounded pretty bad. And so I didn't go to Christmas Eve. They were having games and heavy appetizers at my stepsister's house. And the boys went and they had a great time. But I stayed home and I stitched. I'm sure I watched Hallmark. I think I watched almost every Hallmark movie that they put out this year. I stitched Sweet Wing Studio, Let Us Adore Him. I think I bought this past summer. Maybe when I was at the Petite Retreat. Maybe, no, I think maybe I stitched New England. I think. But I ended up stitching it on that Christmas night fabric that I made my Santa's night tree out of. Boy, it's just about as difficult as stitching on black fabric. So I skipped the confetti snowflakes And I did not stitch the yellow stars. I just used some oyster shell stars that came in my French Advent. I didn't really share any of that, and I don't think I shall because there's Advents everywhere. But I had 3. I had the French Advent, the Colorado Cross Stitcher Advent, and the Tiger Lily Advent, and I loved all 3. The the French one though was all just very small envelopes. It had a lot of silks in it, which I think I'd only had 1 before that, and of course they're beautiful. And then it had some patterns, but they're QR codes to patterns. So, like it was just like a business card in the envelope, and then you scan the QR code, and then you can download the pattern. They're beautiful little samplers, just alphabet samplers. And then there was buttons and needles and ribbons and all sorts of stuff. And then one of the days there were these oyster shell stars, and I thought, oh, well, that works out. So I worked on it on Christmas Eve and Christmas Day, and I think it took me another day because, listen, I was on payment. I was on medication, so makes me sleepy. And then I worked on, that's when I think in between Christmas and New Year's, I worked on Snow Day and finished that up, and I feel like I stitched on something else. Couldn't tell you. It was last year. But on New Year's Eve, I was in a Zoom. Did you go to a Zoom? There were Zooms everywhere. You could find a Zoom everywhere. But I was in a Zoom with some friends, and then we were watching Kia B's live interviews on Instagram. And when she had Jessica Sweetwater on and Alicia from the Fanciful Flamingo, and they were talking about the camping stitcher Chris, she just released a blessing sampler, and I was like, oh, it's not midnight yet, I can go buy one last pattern. And so I went and bought Chris the camping stitcher's blessing sampler. The folklore is, the tale that they tell is that if you start a sampler on New Year's Day and you get it finished in January, in the month of January, you stitch on that until you get done, then you will have a lucky needle. Your needle will know luck. And you won't have, and so maybe I'll have a lucky needle because I finished it. I worked on it for 4 days, and it was a delightful little stitch. Oh, you know what I watched while I was stitching this? I watched The Curious Case of Natalia Grace. Did you watch that? Holy catfish. It's on HBO Max. Wild. So I binge watched that, and I stitched this while I did it. And do you want to know, look at the variegation on that roof. I'm not sure what Chris called for, but do you know what I use? I stitched this on Fortnite Fabric Caravan Tan. I had it out because it's a 16 count. I used it a lot to kit up 12 by 12 projects. I think there's several. But I had a hunk of this sitting on the bench, and I was like, oh, I'll use that. And most importantly, I used the Weeks Pearl Floss. Is it Pearl something? I don't know. I feel like I just saw the tag around here somewhere. But, couldn't tell you. What is this, and how many colors is it coming? Because I want it in white. Does this cover as well in white as it does? Like, this is Turkish Red by Weeks. But it's a pearl, so you use one strand of it. There's 2 strands in there, but the way that they lay is like one strand. And so I used that for my blessing sampler, and boy, I loved it. Loved it. Do they make that in other colors? I think that there might be more of that in my future exploration into that. So those are my finishes. Not too shabby. Not too shabby. Think since I spoke to you last, probably right after my Flosstube though, because it's been a while. I got my Coloring Cotton December subscription, and I immediately started a project. And I just loved the fabric so much and the floss that I was like, what should I stitch this on? Because I need to start it right away. And I did, like that night. It must have been right after my Flosstube because I still had stuff laying out, the patterns that I need to put away. And if you remember last time, I was looking for Harriet somebody, And while I was searching, I found like 6 other samplers and I bought those up. So those were still on my bench here. And so when I got that coloring cotton floss and the fabric of the month, hang on just a second. My project bag's right here. I was thinking there might be a project card in here. Oh yeah, it's Sugar Cookie. 32 count Belfast, and it's Sugar Cookie. So I had... So this pattern was laying on the workbench here on my pressing mat. So I picked up Sarah Newman 1823 and I just started. See those pretty pinks and the blues? And that's what I loved from those flosses that came. This is a mix, but like some of them are from my stash, but Enchanted. And let's see. Princess. And yes, Fairy Tale. Happily Ever After. This blue. This is so pretty. This one is Beanstalk. Aren't they beautiful? So then I went through, I grabbed some other coloring cotton flosses to replace, I recolored it basically. And so I started this right up like that night. Do you love that though? And also, I do. I have zero regret. I mean, yeah, it's a giant new whip, but I love it so much. Sarah Newman, 1823. Love it. Using coloring cotton. Most of it's from the December coloring cotton fabric, the Sugar Cookie, with mostly the coloring cotton floss club for the month. I loved it so much. I still love it. I love stitching on this linen. Love it. Ooh, so that was a new start. Are you surprised? I was, and I love when that type of motivation hits, you know? So I have one other start. I have a plan start video. It's between my Flosstubes. And my January plan start was Birds Cold Outside by Brenda Gervais. And I started this yesterday. Okay, actually I started the day before. But this is 16 count Boardwalk by Coloring Cotton. And no, it's 18 count because I was stitching it with one strand, as one does with 18 count. At least me. And the white was so ghosting. I'm using Cosmo 100. Okay, something else I was stitching. I don't know what it was, but I am a total Cosmo 100 convert. The stitching looks so much better than any DMC white. And it shows up better. It must be on one of my 12x12. That Cosmo 100, I need to stockpile it. I love it so much better. So I had stitched on this a little bit. We watched Alone. Oh, we've been watching Alone. And I stitched on it for an evening. I think I put 2 strands in and I thought, this isn't going to work. So then I took it out, which is a bear on 18 count. There was a lot of cuss words said in my heart. But I restarted it last night. So I've stitched on it for one day. That's what I'm counting it. And the white looks much better. Much better. So that was one of my January starts. So for the month, each month, I loosely have a planned project that's like a normal size. Sometimes they're big. The 12x12 start that I had, there's one for each month. And then I have 2 whips assigned to each month. So technically I should be finishing 4 projects a month. Isn't that a funny joke? But that was my start. I think it's going well. I'm not too overwhelmed by it. So now should we go over 12x12? I think so. Probably need to wet my whistle. So basically these are 1 per month in theory. They're seasonally planned out, some of them. And this is what I started. And guess what? I've been using project cards. So, I have some idea what I stitched on. Miracle of all miracles. In my January, well, my hour 1, I picked a project from Punchino Primitive Stitcher. This is just Christmas Winter of 2020. And the pattern I picked, oh, it's not on the front of the back. It's called Winter Wonderland. It's by the Nebby Needle. Look at that. Isn't that beautiful? And there's a button on this one, but it's actually charted for that snowman there. So I started this. I'm stitching it on 16 count. I think I picked 16 count for all of them. All of my 12 by 12s. And this is Vapors. And I did a color conversion. I think I switched. I think that the pattern had Fancy Floss and DMC conversions, but then I ended up picking whatever I had. Like if I like something better. I do love those blues. Don't you? And I shall not cuss. I'm going to set it down. So that was my start. I actually stitched on this for a little bit more than an hour. I have 12 starts, and I started 2 hours early this year. In the previous 2 years I've done 12 by 12, I have failed to get everything started. So I knew I needed a little bit more time. Dave had to work, so it wasn't like we were going to party hardy anyway. In fact, I think we just had appetizer type of snacking situation for dinner. And I ended up starting 2 hours early, and it worked out just right that I got everything started. So this is hour 1. I intend to stitch this in January. This is using Cosmo White 100, and I do love it. Love it. So that's January. My February is called Gaggle Geese. It's from this Cross Quick magazine. I was looking at this and it says it's the premiere issue. I don't see a date on it. I'm going to guess 1992? What do you think? I don't know. I don't know. So this pattern is this. So there's this is the main pattern, and then they showed it in these other combinations, and I decided to like try to that for that one. It's called Gaggle Geese. And I'm using, I think this is a 16 count. It might be a 14 count. I had dyed this fabric aqua, and then I coffee tea dyed it, so it looks super grungy and grainy almost. It looks very green, doesn't it? But I started this, and I don't think I only stitched on it for an hour. Listen, I got pretty bad at keeping time. I converted it to Fancy Floss, though. That's interesting. So that was hour 2. So I intend to stitch the Gaggle of Geese in February. So my third hour, which would be my March, this came from the Cross Stitcher July 1990 magazine. You got this in your stash? And I'm stitching this Fresh Eggs, and I will tell you that when I was kitting this up, I came to understand why a lot of y'all quit cross stitch, because it's a handwritten pattern, and some of the symbols are just wrong. Like it's supposed to be a U, but the hand-drawn letter is a J. So, and some of them are just kind of wrong. So I had to make heads or tails of quite a bit of it. I'm stitching this on a coffee tea dye that I did. It's either 18 or 16. It's not labeled because I'm not very good at that stuff. And isn't that beautiful? Isn't that beautiful blue? It's coloring cotton. No, it's Classic Color Works. And it's called Summer Sky. And I do love that variegation in that blue. So I got a little bit stitched on that. And this will be my March project, in theory. I feel like it's basically I'm doing 24 and 24. But half of my 24 and 24, 12 of them, I got a head start. My 4th came from a July-August of just cross stitch. July-August of 83, which I was born in July of 83. I'm doing this Dutch sampler, and I tell you, it's nice. It's beautiful. They have the cover. It's the cover. It's the cover model. And then the pattern in there is like this big. And I'm like, y'all blow it up back then? They had Xeroxes in 1983? I don't know. But, So I started this in the 4th hour. I'm using Caravan Tan by Fortnite Fabrics. And this is all I got started. But it's better than nothing. 16 count Caravan Tan. It's a beautiful fabric. I like it. That's the Dutch sampler. The next one, so that will be what month is that? Whatever. This will be my May, so this must be the 5th hour. This is from Cross Stitch and Needlework, June of 96. Can we, one moment, look at that. Bride and Groom cross stitch for the cake topper. Never would have thought of that. This is the Mother sampler, and I just think it's lovely. I'm stitching this on Low Tide by LFA, but remember there was a slight mix-up of my LFA fabric when I got it. There's 3 greens in that, and it was annoying. But I just basically got the bottom of the border. That's not bad for an hour. So, 16 count Low Tide by LFA. Looks like I did a conversion. Took fancy floss. Kind of fancy. So that is my May piece. Hey! My June project comes from 2020 Summer Punching the Primitive. And it's this, is it tulips? Oh, it's called Summer Daisies. I'm stitching it on 16 count Heritage and stitching with the Housewives. And I got a cow done, almost. I just have to put the pink and the black in. I'm not stitching it on black. This is 16 count Heritage. I'm not sure who makes that. Good minute. And this is what I got done in an hour. Somebody joined our Zoom and they said, what'd you get done this hour? And I was like, most of a cow. Most of this cow. So that'll be my June, one of my June projects. July, this comes from Punch Needle Primitive Stitcher, summer of 2016. I don't wonder where I bought this because I was in cross stitch until 2019. So, and it is Sweet Land of Liberty by the Humble Stitcher. Isn't it beautiful? I'm stitching this on 16 count Ren. And it looks like I converted it from DMC to Fancy Floss. So this is my July project. And this is what I got stitched. Just that. Could have been better. Could have been worse. I was running my mouth a fair bit. That was July. My 8th hour and my August stitch come from Cross Quick. Hear this. October, November of 89. 89. And this is called Honeyed Words. And I think that's beautiful. Very beautiful. I'm stitching this on 16 count Luna Moth. And I think it's so interesting because the last time I used Luna Moth, is that Grace Notes? Or picture, might be Stitch Me. It's from one of my clubs. I use it for a snowman, and here I'm using it for a summery, floral, bee themed project. So, Luna Moth. That's all I got. The top, I got part of a little lily, part of a vine. But, honey words. I'm going to tell you, probably by the 8th hour, I was probably getting a little tired. My 10th hour, 2021 fall issue of Punching the Primitive Stitcher. And, it's right here. It's called School Days. Let's see who it's by. Teresa's Primitive Treasures. And I'm using, I'm using Fortnite Fabrics Caravan Tan again. I guess I like it. And this is what I got done in an hour. And I wonder if I went over a bit because this is quite a bit. I don't know why I have such a long strand. Like this green piece is going forever. But beautiful, isn't it? Do you love Caravan Tan? I think I love Caravan Tan. So that's for my September school days. And that's going to be a little bit messy. The next one, my October's, comes from, listen, I pulled this out of the magazine. Actually, a few of them. The magazine was so stiff that I ended up pulling out the pattern. You know, this is America. You can do what you want. And I can do what I want. I pulled this out. It's from a Just Cross Stitch magazine, Halloween of 2023. Oh, the one I just got. And it's this one right here. Pumpkin Patch. And I just got a tiny little start on that. This looks like coffee tea dyed that I did. Looks like a 14 count, to be honest. This is, hold on to your britches. Don't be overwhelmed. This is it. Yep. It'd be like that sometimes. No, this is my November stitch. This comes from August of 1990. Counted cross stitch. And I'm actually stitching this hen right there. There's a series, there's like all four of these little farm animal patterns. I'm stitching the hen, and this is a scrap of something from something, a scrap of something. And then I just got her the bottom of her and the eggs stitched. Listen, I just parked my threads there. But I changed the color of the eggs to be more like our rainbow eggs because we have hens. Well, they're kind of old now. They're not putting out a lot of eggs, but when Dave retired, and I knew I wanted chicken so bad, and I had ordered from a hatchery online, Hoover Hatchery, and I had ordered a mystery pack, 12 brown laying eggs, or hens, and 12 rainbow laying hens. And so they come and they're just a mix. So you don't know what you really have. You'd have to go online and look through the chick directory to figure out what you have. So anyway, it was a fun time. But most of those hens are getting pretty up there in age, and they're not worth their feed. But they're going to get to retire. So that's nice of me. Anyway, this is my 12th hour, my December plan stitch. It's called My Christmas Song, and it's from Christmas Ornaments. Is this yours? Yeah. And this one, super simple. Isn't that beautiful? My Christmas Song is by Maria Teresa Vitale of MTV Designs. So, this was my 12th hour start. And I actually did pretty well. I got all of Christmas done and most of the cardinal. Isn't that lovely? This looks like a scrap too. I don't know that I wrote that down. So, those are my 12 by 12, or my other half of my 24 by 24. Potato, whatever you want to call it. So that is what I got stitched since we last spoke. Is that everything? So far, my plan, do you know I'm not buying any patterns in 2024. I have so many that I want to stitch. But luckily, Katie from the Naptime Stitcher created this document you can get on her Etsy, and it's the planned pattern purchases for 2025. So New Year's Day 2025, whatever ends up on this list, I'll go through it, make sure I still love it, gotta have it, and then I'll buy it. And I just think that being intentional with that will be a great exercise. So I have plans for whips. I'm not really sure what my second whip of January will end up being. I don't know, because Snow Day was technically the one I had assigned when I planned my life, but you know, life changes. But my other whip that's on my list for January is to finish up this February Prairie Schooler, the big one. And then I don't know what I'll pick for the second one. It'll be a surprise to us both. But this is what I have on this whip so far. I stitched on this last year during school. if you were here last year, I would homeschool my son, so I would stitch while he works. 'Cause I really don't need to be teaching him, like he's a 10th grader, so I just need to be in the room, make sure he's not like wandering over to YouTube. Do you know what I mean? Like I just have to be like a presence to keep to keep the child on task. So I don't know what fabric this is. It is very beautiful. Probably it's caravan tan. I don't know. It really might be. I don't know. But so I stitched this last year during school, and we'll see how much I get done. I think I'm gonna do what Missy Timberlake does. 2 needles pulling thread. She does 5 days in a row of something, and see how far you can get, and then switch to something else. Like that way you don't get stagnant, you know. So we'll see what happens. You know what would be perfect? You know what would be perfect is if I got Winter Wonderland and Birds Cold Outside stitched. Then I finished up that Prairie Schooler, and then I picked another small whip and banged that out. And then I'd have a couple days to stitch on Sarah Newman 1823, because I'd like to see her every month this year. You know what I mean? She didn't make it on a whip list because I just started her up. And I don't really have plans for her. I just want to enjoy stitching on that. So we'll see. I've also, look at me. Hey, this is like days. Well, 6 days so far. I've written in my book of days. I went through, listen, I'm a book of days noobs, but I just put a couple of little tiny stickers in there, but I've been filling it out every day. I was kind of baffled about whether you just like, if you stitch on something 5 days in a row, you just write that in 5 days in a row. I'm sure it's up to you. But anyway, so I've been doing my book of days. Been doing my Bible devotional, my Bible study. But, you know, it's only been a week. And I've been flossing every day. Every year. That's my goal. I'm going to floss every day. And I make it a good long time, I'm going to tell you. So, okay, I have a little bit of haul and a really fun Christmas gift I want to show you. It took a minute, but I did get up my Jingle Ball haul. I feel like I just got it like last week. I got this earlier, but then the patterns I'd ordered came later. Isn't this beautiful? You see me at retreats, I'll be using this because I love it so bad. It's so good. It's so big. That's what she said. So I bought that. I also got a couple patterns from Teresa Kogut. I just love her patterns. Santa's Delivery. I told you I bought navy blue perforated paper to stitch those. When? Don't know. And I got some postcards. I think they're beautiful. So I got that. That was a December 1st order. So, you know. And sometime between the last time I saw you, I had ordered these on Amazon, and I don't really remember why. And I partly wonder if they were in my cart, and then I was like, check out something else, and then these came. It'd be like that sometimes. So, a couple of Jim Shores. Are all 3 Jim Shore? Yeah, all 3 are Jim Shore. I do love Jim Shore. And I had, okay, I showed you Sarah Newman and how I got the floss and the fabric in the mail and started that hours later because I was so motivated and inspired to start something right up. And I also was worried because there's a lot of green in that sampler, and I was worried about running out of green. And also I wanted to get one of the other pinks, and I might still change it up. We'll see. I was stalking their website. I had like a bookmarked like tab so I could check it like several times a day. And then I jetted over there. Somebody texted me and said it's on. They're listed. And so I ran over there. So I got a couple more of those greens, a couple more of the blues. That pink that I didn't get. Listen, I have FOMO when I watch other people that get the 15 skeins. I wanted that Gretel so bad. Oh. But I got a couple more from last month's, from December. I was stalking their website. And like she posted them. But they didn't have the picture and they weren't available. But they said sold out, but they hadn't been listed. So I knew they were coming, and then they showed up. And also, I had asked for these like a couple months ago. I never really like given Dave and Nate any direction for Christmas gifts, to be honest. I just buy myself what I want and then they wrap it. But this year I sent them a list and I wanted some cast iron skillets. I wanted a bigger one and I wanted one with a lid. And then I included 2 patterns and Dave ordered them from a shop in Dayton. I think it's like Everything Cross Stitch, or I've never used that site. But they got lost in the mail for like 3 weeks. They were in Pontiac, Michigan. And Dave was like, I don't know. They got here like a week or a couple days after Christmas. And I put these on my list. And then he told me that he bought me the patterns I asked for, but they were lost. And I was like, oh, what patterns were they? Because I had asked for these. And then when I was looking for Harriet, bought those other 6 samplers. And I freaked out. I was like looking through my phone to see what I sent him because I was like, did I buy them? But I did not. So I got these 2 from my husband. So that was delightful. I also got this in the mail. I have no idea who it was from. It came from like the return address said internet orders or something really vague. I almost didn't open it. I was so nervous. But I opened this up. It looks like it's Ukrainian. Everything's kind of in a foreign language. And it's a wooden needle box that you can stitch on. So it's a box and it holds needles, and this is magnetized, and then you stitch this, and then I think you stitch this together on it. So it's got like a surface to stitch on. So it's got a lot of beads. Terrifying. I have no idea where this came from, but if it came from you, thank you very much. That was quite a surprise. So there was nothing in the box, and the return address was so vague. It was like the internet online orders is what it was or something. It was super random. So if you remember, in November I flew to Denver to stitch with my sister-in-law and my friend Kristen, and I took along my other sister-in-law because I thought she and her sister should have some good sister time. But I taught them to stitch, and Sandy has gone full blast. She's been stitching like every day. And I think she's on her 3rd project. So I'm really, really glad that I went to go teach Rebecca, my sister-in-law. And then Sandy came along and I taught her too. And then look at her go. So imagine my surprise when we met up with Dave's sisters, the ones that are local, before Christmas, before I got sick. And we went to dinner, and the adults don't exchange gifts, but Sandy messaged me and said, okay, but I have something for you in my car. And I said, okay, I have something for you in my car too. So then she gifted me this. Can you even, this is her first ever cross stitch finish. She finished it into this beautiful box. I'm pretty sure that they stained it. And then the inside has like fabric in it. Super cool. Isn't that amazing? Oh my God. I just heard it. Anyway, can you believe that? Isn't that kind and generous? Can I tell you that I was thinking about how generous it was for her to gift me her first ever cross stitch. And then I was thinking, I've only ever gifted one cross stitch, and that was the swap I just did and I gave Kathy that snowman. And it made me so nervous. And sometimes, like, at random times, I'll be like, was that terrible? Was that a crappy snowman? And I'll just, like, obsess about it. And it was just so lovely that she thought to gift me that. I just love it so much. So, I think I'm going to put it right up there. So, okay. So, we talked about my stitching, my finishes, my plans. That's it. I hope you had a wonderful holiday season and got lots of stitching in, and I just want to say thank you. A lot of you watch my Flosstube like right away, and then this one being such a big gap, seeing like other comments trickle in was so heartwarming and wonderful. And I just appreciate all of you so much. It truly still humbles me, all of the lovely comments and interaction that we have through comments, and I just appreciate all of you. And so I'll probably check in like normal, as long as I don't get another plague and there's no hockey. Oh, but I'll tell you, there's hockey the whole month. So I think we have 4 days off this month, and this is one of them. So we'll see how that lines up for my next Flosstube. But take care, friends. Happy stitching. Bye-bye.